Hey everybody, Paul here from Baldare Garden Centre in Letterkenny again. Today I was going to look at another wee project that's great to do with kids. Very simple wee thing, doesn't take up much space, and it's what is known as a terrarium. Terrarium is just a fancy name for a jar garden basically. Today I'm going to do this one in a glass jar, but plastic works perfectly well too. A lot of people have old goldfish bowls, that sort of stuff lying about. You can buy these in kit form. And a lot of shops that tend to be quite expensive, but using a few materials that people would have lying about the house, it's actually quite handy and quite inexpensive to do up your own. So first thing I have here is a glass bowl which I got in a local discount shop, and it wasn't very expensive, it was $5.99. And what I'm going to do first of all is put in a layer of gravel. Just any gravel that you have lying about, so you have to be quite careful because of the glass. Better to use the nicest gravel you can find, because in this yard you're going to see each layer. It's important to do that. So we'll pretty much I've been mentioning. Some gravel there, hopefully you can see it. The next important step to do is to actually get some charcoal. That's just ordinary barbecue charcoal. It's important to get stuff that hasn't been treated with any chemicals to make it easier to light or anything, so if you just get an ordinary bag of barbecue charcoal, is perfect. And as this garden doesn't have any drainage in it, there's a chance that the water could go stagnant in it and eventually cause a smell of that. So the purpose of the charcoal is to stop that happening, because the charcoal will absorb any sort of badness that's in the water. So what you do is more or less hide that in among your gravel. So for a jar this size with 3 pieces, 3 to 4 pieces is perfect. Smooth out your gravel as best you can. And the next step is to get a bit of kitchen roll. There's just a wee circle of kitchen roll already cut. And the purpose of kitchen roll is to stop the compost actually as it gets water going down through the gravel, because we want to preserve our layers as best we can. So what I have next is just ordinary multi-purpose compost. That's stuff most people have lying about the house. And it's starting to fill that in. And you can see that the kitchen roll is actually preventing a lot of the compost going down through into the gravel layer. So just a few handfuls of this here. If you find it easier, you can actually use something like a ladle or a big spoon for this job, but it's hard to make using the old hands. So you can see there we have now filled it up to the tune of 3 to 4 inches, I would say. So you can see it there. We can also add or subtract as we go. And set this out of the way. So next thing we have a few what is basically alpine plants. These are wee plants that actually don't require much water. You can, at this time of restrictions, garden centres, a lot of them are closed, but you can still find them in places like Lidl, Tesco, somewhere like that. They would have them. Generally they're quite inexpensive, and these don't actually require very much water, so it makes them perfect for this sort of job. So what we do is just squeeze the pot, more or less, and they should slide out fairly handy. These ones are quite dry. And just sort of position them in around the outside of it. So set that quite nicely out in there, firm up around them a wee bit. So this one is actually a saxifrage, you call it, which is a nice wee one that will eventually produce a wee flower, but he doesn't get much bigger than what you see there. This one here is actually a type of a miniature aloe vera, which means it's quite jaggy, but once again doesn't require a lot of water. So just take off the good root and squeeze, and it should come out handy enough. So we'll just place him in here, out near the edge. So whenever you're doing this step, I tend to just set them in whatever way they go, and you can sort of take a look at it yourself as you go on and see whether you're happy with the placement or not, as the case may be. So what I'm going to do is actually just for a bit of balance, put this one towards the back here, because we'll be adding in other stuff as we go on too. So over here. So once again, I'm just sort of settling them down in. We'll go for another wee one as well, which is not just another one of these wee aloe vera type plants. We'll set him in over here. So this is a living garden, so you're going to have to water it as we go, but we'll take a look at that in a wee minute, just because the watering is the key to success in this sort of thing. So here we have a few plants planted. There's space sort of sporadically through it, but this is for the fun that comes in for the kids. generally these gardens here traditionally, they're actually just decorated to make them like a whole wee miniature garden. So what I've got here is, I raided the playroom, and what I've got here is, we're going to put a bit of a fairy theme to this one. So what we've got is a wee plastic fairy house, fairly inexpensive, a wee wishing well, which every garden needs, and a nice wee arch. So we'll put the arch up here near the front. Sometimes these things work and sometimes they don't, sort of in terms of scale, but we'll try them out and see how we get on. Put the wee house back here. Generally you can go with whatever sort of theme that your kids are into, or whatever you like yourself. If you want to go for something quite classy, you can use something like driftwood, and it looks quite nice. I've seen other ones done before with cacti in them, and like for kids' benefit, they'll be like cowboys and Indians put around it and stuff like that there. Or just pretty much anything you find. Actually, dinosaurs look quite well on them too, because some of these plants have a sort of a Jurassic look to them. So just set in your wee features around. Going for a big stone here to make kind of a patio for the front of our house. If it fits. Just move the plant around. And just finish it off with some of your gravel. So generally if you're working on the gravel, the smaller the gravel the better. I just happen to get this stuff today, which is a wee bit big for the gravel. Once again, this sort of work. But this is the sort of thing here you can let the kids go at themselves, and once again let them decorate their garden. So I'm just putting a few more bits of gravel in there. Once again, at this stage as well, if you're finding it hard to get stuff arranged in nicely, you can actually just use something like a spoon. Sometimes it's quite handy. You can use it just like a miniature shovel. So, keep that set on. Get our see how that looks now. So pretty much this could do with a bit more adjusting, but kind of from there you get the gist of it. So we have just our whole wee garden scene put together. I put it together very quickly there, but if you actually take a bit of care, you can actually make a very nice job of it. So you can, and by adding more wee bits and pieces. For the fairy theme as well, sometimes someone make them look a wee bit better than something like marbles. You can give it a wee bit more of a magical feel to it. You just set them in like that there, just look a bit more like garden features. That's what they do. So hopefully that looks alright. And actually, so here we have our garden done like that now. And what I must do is go and get my watering can. If you excuse me 1 second. Sorry. And here's my very fancy watering can that I made for the thing. As you can see, it's just a plastic bottle that I poked a few holes in the lid. So, generally, if you're watering your garden, you just give it a very, very light squeeze of water in it. It can actually help to clean the glass times as well. It doesn't take very much water, so you'd only be watering this maybe, say, every 2 weeks, around that. And the key to watering this, if you like to see the compost sort of moist, and if you see water starting to congregate in the gravel there, you probably watered too much. So generally, err on the side of dryness, and you can't go far down. So that's how you make a wee jar garden very quickly. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you again.